What's up, everybody? Rob Ferrari here, and today I'm going to talk about that question that everybody seems to care about, which is how much does he pay for that car? And today, I guess I can talk about multiple cars, but I'm going to talk about this one. I'm not stealing my own car. Hate that the windows go up. And that one stays up. All right. So, we are going to talk about my 488 Spider, because that's really the sexiest one to discuss, and one of the only ones I have a loan on. You have to keep in mind when you're talking about what somebody pays for a car, it's all relative, because it doesn't really matter what the car is. It's what it costs, what the options are, and it's not really like you walk into Ferrari and they've got like $1,500 a month gets you a brand new Ferrari. It doesn't really work like that, or with any real asset. And I see a lot of people making videos about what their Gallardo costs, what this costs, what that costs. It all depends on how much you borrow, how long you borrow it for, and what your credit is, really. So if you pay I could pay $5 a month for this car if I borrowed $1,000 and paid the other $382,000. I didn't do that. This car, I put about 30% down, and my payment's about $3,300 a month to get right to the chase. And that's for 3 years with a balloon of $150,000 at the end of the 3 years. So it's just, it's all math at the end of the day. It's math, credit score, how much you put down, and what the ultimate value of the car is. If you're talking about leasing cars, that's where you can say like how much my car payment is, because a lease is a little bit different. A lease is structured that they're buying it back from you, so whatever your fixed payment is it. All you concern yourself about is what your payment is when you get it, and then what the ultimate payment is, or what the payment is at the time you take the car. And then lastly, if you have any incidentals or over mileage, that's on you. But you have to factor all those things in. My NSX, I bought it for cash, but this car costs me the same as the Range Rover I got, and that was $882 a month with no money down, and it was a 4-year finance. I think 4 years, right? 4 years or 5 years, whatever it was. So it's possible to go get a car like this for $750 to $1,000 a month. And it's possible that a car like this for $20,000 a month if you're going to be financing it for a couple of years with no money down, or you could get it for $500 a month. It really depends on what your financial situation is. Now, the best way to look at cars and financing is really the term of the loan, which I would say you never want to exceed 6 years, because you have to remember there's a depreciation curve on every car, especially if you're going to be buying it. And if you exceed 6 years, there's a good chance you'll end up underwater on a car, which you never want to do. You never want your loan value to be in excess of what the actual car is worth, because then if something happens and you're arguing with your insurance company to try to get them to pay the gap, or you have to come out of pocket, and they say somebody totals your car, you owe $100,000 on it, but the car's only worth $60,000, that's $40,000 out of pocket that you have to come because somebody totaled your car and was in an accident. You never want to be in a situation where you're underwater. Most banks won't let you, but ultimately, all car payments, how much my car costs, how much your car costs, all is going to come down to what your credit is, and a bank will lend you virtually anything. If your credit is good and the asset is reasonably stable, they'll lend it to you. Like on this car, there's a company called PenFed, which I love to use, and PenFed is usually the cheapest. 1.49% is as low as I've seen them on used cars. They say they're only going to do cars up to $75,000. Now maybe it's up to 100, and no older than 10 years. But if you say, hey, I got good credit, they're loaning to you. They're not loaning against a car. They're loaning to somebody who they want to pay them back. And I've borrowed money on a bunch of my cars. I didn't borrow on the Cobra R, I didn't borrow on the NSX, but I borrowed on virtually everything else. And even my 360, the last payment is this month. It was 4 years, and I borrowed, I think, 50,000. I usually take like 50,000 against cars. I don't want to take the full value of the cars. 360, I borrowed 50 grand at 1,100 a month. GT3 I borrowed, I think it was $50,000 for a year less, so that was 4 years. And GT3 was 3 years, $1,444 a month. That was through also PenFed. I borrowed through Bank of America. I mean, there's plenty of banks you can go through, but your best bet is to find that price range and that term of the loan that you feel comfortable with, an interest rate that you qualify for, and then start shopping around as to what you can afford. Not what I can afford, not what Salamandrian can afford, not what any of these other guys can afford, what you can afford. It doesn't matter what I pay for my car. It doesn't matter what anyone else pays. It matters what you can afford and what you want to pay and where the value is for you when you take a loan on your own car. So I hope I didn't leave you hanging too long. If all you cared about was how much I pay for this thing, $3,300 a month. And yeah, so there it is. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe. That answers a question that you really have no business to know, but it doesn't really matter because it's completely irrelevant. But for some reason, you all like to know. If you have any questions, I'll put the link to PenFed in the description. Not sponsored, but I've had great experiences. A lot of car guys have had great experiences with them. If they say there's a limit of like 75 or 100,000 plus whatever, always do the application. If you got good credit, they'll loan to you whatever you want for virtually anything. A little tip to the wise. Go out, enjoy yourself. When money is cheap, sub 2 or 3%, and it's that cheap to borrow, I suggest you do it. Just because you have the cash, you can do more with that cash than putting it into a car. You can use that to invest or do whatever, and it'll generate more than 2 or 3%. So that's something to keep in mind. You're subscribed, right? It's my wife honking the horn at ruining my video. My son's like, ha ha ha. Catch you next time.